Yo, what's up? It's me, your boy Isadora. Today we're gonna talk about the 13 last horror movies that I saw, and I'm gonna rank them purely in terms of my own enjoyment. Now, we are entering spooky season, but for me, spooky season is every day. And if you're wondering where my other earring is, don't worry about it. I'm George Michaeling it, alright? I know it's not there. Let's go. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you're into like freaky shit, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, so we're gonna go from worst to best. Again, these are ranked purely on how much I personally enjoyed them. I am not the be-all end-all of like art. I love garbage, honestly. There's gonna be some takes that I have which I don't know, y'all might like come to stake me, like drive me out of town, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, alright, so we're gonna start off with a movie that I just saw in theaters, and this is Dracula, A Love Tale, directed by Luc Besson. Now, he's the guy who did Leon the Professional, and he did one of my favorite movies of all time, The Fifth Element. Now, I am a big horror fan, but I watch other shit occasionally too. I recently just watched Legend, where Tim Curry plays Darkness. Fire. That's a fantasy movie, not really a horror movie though. Anyway, Dracula, A Love Tale is first because this is the only movie on this list that genuinely fucking pissed me off. Now, I know some people might say like, oh, well, this wasn't supposed to be a horror movie. You know, it's called Dracula, A Love Tale. It's a Gothic romance. The Gothic romance was terrible. We're gonna get later into other films I've seen with elements of Gothic romance that were much fucking better than this one. Now, this kind of had like that Pirates of the Caribbean, like the later movies where it just seems like they loaded a bunch of scripts into a cannon and ended up with like all this different random shit happening. This movie really pissed me off. Now, again, I'm not a Dracula as a Gothic romance hater, alright? I love Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, where Gary Oldman is Dracula. One of my favorite Draculas, alright? I love Blacula. That's actually one of the first movies, at least as far as I know. Maybe I'm wrong, it's possible. But Blacula from the 70s, which we're gonna get into, is one of the first Dracula-esque movies to actually have like the intensive like Gothic romance and reincarnation plot. I like Blacula, alright? My issue with Dracula, A Love Tale is like, one, the weird animated gargoyles looked absolutely horrible, and this is a movie that came out in 2025, alright? There are movies that I love from the 70s and 80s, 90s, 2000s, which I would say have better practical effects and have better, like, animated effects as well. Another thing I hated is the perfume story of a murderer subplot. How, like, it's weird. So again, I love Dracula, okay? One of the things, there's many different ways you can go with like a Dracula type figure. You can go like sexy and seductive, like Frank Langella's Dracula from the 70s. You can make him literally a gross creature, as he is in like the original 1922 Nosferatu and all of the remakes. There's a lot of things and a lot of ways you can go. They did like perfumer Dracula. Like, huh? What? Like, Dracula can have a lot of powers. He can have all this shit, like these powers of seduction. So, like, what I gathered from Dracula, A Love Tale is he's like, my dead wife will be reincarnated eventually, so I need to make a perfume that will make everybody on Earth fall in love with me, just in case she's one of those people who happens to smell me. So I need to like travel the world making like the best perfume. I was like, dude, this is not why anyone comes to a fucking vampire movie. I want to see fangs and neck, brother. I don't want to see. Now, again, Perfume Story of a Murderer is actually a really good book and a really cool movie with Alan Rickman. 10/10 recommend if you haven't seen it. See that. Don't fuck with Dracula, A Love Tale at all. I did really enjoy Luc Besson. You know, he's like a cool director. There were so many like beautiful shots in this movie. Like so much cool shit. The costuming was really cool. When we see like more of Dracula as a warrior in the beginning, and it's cool as hell, like them coming out of the fire to like attack the Turks. Cool as fuck. So we had this like grand, super cool, I'm like hype, I'm like, hell yeah, brother, like, yeah. And then we just get to like animated gargoyles, perfumer Dracula. Like, it just didn't hit. Also, I felt like, especially the set in Paris was one of, like, the worst Paris sets I've ever seen. Like, I don't know. So, like, they're, like, referencing, I believe they referenced, like, Saint-Germain, which is, like, one of the, like, bougiest, like, central, oldest, neighborhoods of Paris. I believe it's by Le Marais. And like the old like Jewish quarter. I've only spent like 6 weeks in Paris total in my life, so I'm not an expert, but even from my time in Paris, I was like, this literally looks like a soundstage. Like, where did you film this? And again, maybe they did film it in Paris, but like things just looked really hokey. So there was this disconnect between like this grand opening and like I just felt like it kind of steadily devolved. Like, it really felt like they kind of took the Francis Ford Coppola Dracula and just added more plot points to it and made it worse. Like, why would you do that? And we're 6 minutes in and I've only talked about Dracula, A Love Tale, but we're gonna move on because there's 12 other films. Some of these films I have a lot to say about, some of them I have less to say about. Anyway, then we're getting into the next film. Again, these are just ranked in terms of enjoyment. Scars of Dracula. This is a Hammer Christopher Lee Dracula movie. This has to be my least favorite Hammer Christopher Lee Dracula movie that I've seen. I've seen a good couple of them. 2 of them are on this list. For one, anytime I see Christopher Lee on screen, I'm having a great time. For me, Scars of Dracula is a little bit lower because, like, I literally do not like or care about any other person in that whole movie. Like, we open up with this like Playboy dude Paul. Actually, this is so low because I believe I've seen this twice already. I forget I see it every time I click on it, and then halfway through I get crazy deja vu and I'm like, oh shit, there's this one incredible scene where like a bat kills a priest and like the bat is clearly on a string, and I cackle every time. And when that scene hits, I'm like, oh right, I've seen this already. So that's not a good sign of enjoyment when you literally like see a movie and you instantly push it out of your mind. I know this is like a really, really referenced and like important. Actually, all the Hammer vampire films are really important. And I do like, there's some other Hammer films on this list. I'm not like a Hammer hater by any means. I respect like them as like foundational like horror texts ranging from like the 50s through to the 70s, but I also genuinely like some of the movies, right? This, I was like, anytime Christopher Lee was on screen, I was having a great time. Literally, this was just like, and again, like sometimes Hammer is really good, sometimes it's so bad it's good. This was like Christopher Lee is like a brilliant, terrifying, like I find him really, really hot as Dracula. We'll get into it. Like that's like, I wish I was him. Like, I want to be him. Like, I want him also. But literally, I just hate everybody else so much in this movie. Like, genuinely did not care about a whole other person in this movie. So that's just why it's lower on the list. Now, the next film rated purely in how much of terms I enjoyed it. Again, this is my personal enjoyment. Don't come for me. Is, Eggers' latest Nosferatu movie. I know a lot of people who are like into film. They love Robert Eggers. Like, For me, watching an Eggers film is like, have you ever been to like a modern art museum and like you see something and you're like, I mean, it's technically cool that they created this, but this has nothing to do with me and it does not touch me whatsoever? That's really how I feel when I go see like an Eggers movie or when I watch one. So I saw Nosferatu in theaters. I saw The Witch just like in my house. Again, like, I feel like when I watch an Eggers movie, I am watching something which is technically like a good film, but it is not a good film that I enjoy watching. Again, like, it's weird, like, because I know a little bit about Robert Eggers and his like approach to creating like historical film to be like incredibly like faithful and well researched, and like I really respect that. I think that's super interesting. Like, he really wants to go into like the genuine beliefs of people at a time and like show how those beliefs worked in the society. So like, again, like I see that and I respect it so much. And then I watch the movie and I'm like, this is very well framed, and especially in Nosferatu, like, I respect the use of practical effects and stuff like that. A big letdown for me was the Nosferatu schlong. I heard all this hype about it. People were screaming about it. I don't know if it's just the way, like, the movie was color graded or shot, or maybe it was an issue with the screen where I saw it in theaters. That movie was so dark that, like, I did not even know when you were supposed to have seen the Nosferatu schlong. Like, where is that undead peanuts? Like, is he jorking it? I don't know. He could have been. It was so fucking dark. It's like when you watch Hannibal, you're like, yo, like, turn up the lights. Like, I know this is literally, like, a dark subject matter. Like, this should be figuratively dark. It should not be literally dark. So again, for me, of all the Nosferatus, I would say Herzog's Nosferatu is my favorite Nosferatu movie, followed by the 1922 silent film Nosferatu. I'm a big fan of like German Expressionism though. Then last is Eggers' Nosferatu. Again, like, I did not really care what happened to any of the people in that movie. I did not peep no vampire schlong. Again, like, if you're gonna go into all this hype and do all of this work in practical effects, let me see the man jorking it. Also, I know, like, I didn't really like their take on Nosferatu. Like, again, like, I know that Skarsgård trained with an opera singer for like ever to get that voice. It didn't do it for me. Like, I was just like, what is this like? It was giving me like rah rah Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen, the vibes. I just like, I don't know, man. I didn't really get freaked out. I didn't really feel anything. It's I feel like there's like a wall between me and Robert Eggers, which I cannot cross. Like, it bothers me so much because I want to respect what he does. And the love he puts into film is like an auteur, like in like that old school, like Hitchcock manner. Like, I should be sucking that man's dick. But when I watch the movies, I'm like, yes, this is an achievement, but I feel nothing. Let me know what you think about Eggers and like Nosferatu. We're gonna move on to a film that so we're starting to get into like stuff that I liked or that like really left an impression on me, things that I have like more positive things to say about than negative. Next we have Countess Dracula. This is a Hammer film. Now, Hammer films can have a reputation for being like super ridiculous, like so bad it's good. Countess Dracula is not camp at all. In my opinion, it barely has like the classic like sexploitation, like free titties everywhere, Hammer kind of vibes. This is just a film about a genuinely wretched, evil, villainous woman, which, like, literally, often when I watch films about, like, monsters and, like, evil people, I tend to kind of root for the monster. I hate this bitch. Like, I can't think of the last time I watched a movie with, like, a villain in it who did, again, like, there's no crazy effects. This is a take on, Elizabeth Bathory. As a vampire, I love the, like, Elizabeth Bathory lore. I love how they do it in Castlevania. One of my favorite vampire movies of all time is Daughters of Darkness, which is another take on Elizabeth Bathory. Like, love that shit. So for me, this is just a me-coded movie. I love to see Elizabeth Bathory, and the way they execute it, like, she's such an evil wretch. It's like, just like a banal, like, she's just mean to everyone around her, and it's not like she has, like, grand plans or a grand plot or grand intelligence. Like, I think because, like, we all kind of know somebody who acts like this bitch, it just triggers something in you to watch her go. And, like, she's, like, just, like, the way she treats her own daughter, like, the way she treats everybody in the house, like, she's, like, a legitimate, like, believable psychopath who just happened to find out that, like, you could rub the blood of virgins on you and become young. So, like, I loved Countess Dracula. I was mad at her. I hated her. Like, good. This was like a incredible Hammer film, in my opinion, that I never hear anybody talk about. It's definitely, it's not the most over the top. It's not the most bloody. It's not the most lush or expensive. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you watch The Scars of Dracula, honestly, like, even though I hate everybody in that movie except Christopher Lee, I love his house. It looks like a 70s Coke palace with, like, golden red candles everywhere. Delightful. So, like, I think in, like, Countess Dracula, they didn't really invest that much, but, like, because her I hate that bitch. Like, good for her. Incredible. So I was really into that. Then, so I do mostly watch vampire movies, but I also watch other horror. And I enjoyed The Cell a lot. So this is one of those movies, all right, where, like, if you go and see reviews of it online, if you go and see the ratings, everybody's like, this is a horrible movie. It makes no sense. But I feel like if you can kind of appreciate, like, the references of it, or, like, where the director might have been going, I think it's a cool idea to combine, like, Silence of the Lambs and, like, incredible sci-fi fantasy scapes. Like, I look at The Cell as basically like if Silence of the Lambs and Hellraiser had a baby, and they have, like, the armor. So basically, if you don't know anything about The Cell without spoiling it, there's, like, a serial killer, and like, who's really freaky, into, like, really freaky shit, like torture. Like, it is very Hellraiser-y, like, the things that he does in terms of manipulating the human body. I'm a big Hellraiser fan. I fuck with Clive Barker. Seeing Hellraiser as a child influenced my aesthetic deeply, which, if you know, Hellraiser kind of, like, was the roots of that aesthetic are, like, the leather, BDSM, like, gay scenes. So that explains a lot, then anyway, The Cell, yeah, it's literally just Hellraiser and the Silence of the Lambs put together, where, like, people put on these suits that really look like the armor that Dracula has in, like, I think it's the 1992, or is it 1991? I confuse when Interview with a Vampire and Bram Stoker's Dracula came out, but I'm talking about that classic red, like, armor that Gary Oldman has. Like, the people in The Cell, they have to put on those suits to, like, enter the vast scapes of the human mind. So I think it's a cool-ass movie, honestly. Like, does it really make a lot of sense? Are there a lot of, like, holes that, like, if you think about it too much, you'll be like, yeah, that's kind of dumb, but, like, it looks incredible. It's so fucking cool. And if you're a horror fan, like, I think, like, it's not always about having, like, an airtight plot. It's about the vibes, which, like, you could say if you're a Hammer fan, if you're a Shakespeare fan, like, it's just the pure vibes, okay? Like, I really enjoyed The Cell. Now, if you go in expecting to have like your life changed forever, I don't really think you'll get that. But if you like the idea of Silence of the Lambs, Hellraiser, Bram Stoker's Dracula armor, and J-Lo's in it, like, I honestly, like, she was a pretty good actress. Like, she carries it out. Like, I forget that she's like J-Lo, you know? So, like, I think that's pretty cool. And also, if you like a good, like, freaky serial killer villain, I think you'll really enjoy this film. Some people are like, oh, this is stupid and it doesn't really make sense. Appreciate the aesthetic value. Also, this has really disgusting and interesting and like iconic gore. Like, just some of like the nastiest, most evil, surreal shit I've ever seen. So if that sounds cool to you, I would totally recommend The Cell, and don't believe the haters. Next, even more than The Cell, I enjoyed Suspiria. Now, this is a Dario Argento film, those like Italian horror films where, again, they don't really make that much sense. It's not like groundbreaking, incredible plots. The vibes, the aesthetic, delicious. In this movie, a school, it's basically like I don't know, I feel like this is an old movie. If you know, you know, but it's like a American dancer goes into this really creepy, like, evil dance academy in Europe, and like weird, freaky shit starts happening, and like she solves the mystery, even though like it's very much a movie where you're watching it and you're like, oh, these things are happening because they need to happen. This guy is giving this monologue. This could be a shorter monologue. Like, he needs to stop. The vibes, the score, instant favorite forever. I loved it. Like, this is the kind of movie that I would watch again and again just because I like the atmosphere and like I'd like to live in it. Super dope 70s film, like beautiful, perfect, like the old architecture, like the weird unsettling stuff that's happening. Like, is it incredibly ridiculous? Yeah. Like, why does the school just have like a convenient like skin slicing barbed wire room? Like, again, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're a horror fan, you should be down with camp, all right? Like, you should be down with ridiculous shit. You should be down with abandoning, like, what do they call it? Like, suspending disbelief or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I loved Suspiria. I think everyone loves Suspiria. I think it's illegal to dislike Suspiria, actually, if you're an intellectual. So again, Suspiria, incredible, beautiful art film. I enjoyed Blacula more than Suspiria. I don't see a lot of people really ever talk about Blacula. Now, it's like, it's combining like blaxploitation with Dracula. Honestly, I really love this movie. The dude who plays Dracula, he's probably like one of the first like more human, more sympathetic, more seductive Draculas. Again, this film came out in the 70s, and like he's one of the first. Like, Christopher Lee's Dracula, like, I mean, he's hot, but like you don't really root for him, you know? Actually, I don't remember the name of the Hammer film. There's one where he literally has no lines and he just snarls and shit like an animal. Very nice. But in Blacula, he's like this educated, like cultured, smooth. He has like this beautiful voice, like, and the style in Blacula is incredible. Every character looks incredible. They go into this like funk club and you see like full out musical performances and stuff. Interestingly, some of my favorite vampire movies all have like music and like ballroom and dance and shit kind of scenes in them. I just like the vibes, but I loved Blacula, and at the end when they kill him, it sucks. Like, I was rooting so hard for this motherfucker. Like, how are they gonna do my boy like that? I know that the point is that Dracula dies at the end, but like, how could they do that to him? So if you like like funk. And I think anyway, as far as I know, like as far as making Dracula more of like a gothic romance character, I think that Blacula was one of the first movies to actually like explore that and execute it super well. This also has, this is just time period based. This has one of my favorite, so it opens up with this like black and white gay couple, and they're just like the most camp people alive, and I love the shit out of them. Super fun. Like it's always cool like when you're watching a vampire movie or some kind of monster movie, and like, yeah, the point is to see like the monsters, but it's always fun when there's like secondary characters you actually like and sympathize with and enjoy. So I really love them. I love the music. I love the outfits. Impeccable vibes. Some of the dumbest and most hilarious vampire deaths I've ever seen. Like when they have a big fight scene against the vampires, and I was laughing my fucking ass off. So like I enjoy, Blacula is gonna be like one of those movies that I rewatch regularly because the vibes are immaculate. The music, the outfits, like, oh my god, you gotta see it, man. Like, honestly, so he's like Prince Mamuwalde. He's like an African prince who is cursed to be a vampire by Dracula. And like, I think he's one of the best like romantic Dracula figures in media. Like, often the romantic vampire doesn't necessarily work for me. I think it can be executed really well. Like, again, Frank Langella is like, I don't like in that movie because he's like a Dracula with an English accent. And like, if you know a lot about like the source material of Dracula, a big point in Bram Stoker's Dracula is that Dracula kind of represents England's fear of people from Eastern Europe. So I don't really like taking Dracula and making him an Englishman. I don't want to hear no like, oi, love from my fucking Dracula. Like, get the fuck out of here, fucking fish and chips ass. Anyway, but no, he is a really effective and sensual and sexy Dracula. Mamuwalde, maybe one of the first sexy Draculas. And he gets no respect, but I will give it to him today. Even more than Blacula, I recently watched House on Haunted Hill, the classic Vincent Price haunted house movie. Now, I love a good haunted house movie. And like, I'm pretty sure House on Haunted Hill is like the most iconic, like old school, like black and white haunted house movie. And it's just so iconic to watch, and it's so wonderful. Like, even to this day, like, I love Vincent Price, and I think he is delightful in this fucking movie, which is like, it mixes kind of these elements of like, is the house actually haunted or not? Which I actually really like that element in a range of movies when it's like, are people just being hysterical and weird and superstitious? Is somebody having a mental breakdown? Or is something like supernatural really happening? Like, I really enjoy that tension. I like it in all kinds of movies, like including, I know everybody thinks the Nicolas Cage movie Vampire's Kiss is like one of the worst movies of all time. I think that's one of like the best examples of like, is something supernatural occurring, or is this man like just literally losing his mind? Like, I love that, okay? And I think House on Haunted Hill, so cool, so fun. Like, can you see some of the plot twists going a little bit? Are some of the stuff like a little bit goofy? Yeah, absolutely. But like the cloying and like weird atmosphere, I think this is one of the most like atmospheric like haunted house movies of all time, and it might not even have any ghosts in it. Kind of like the cat and mouse game between Vincent Price and his wife is like delightful, super hot. Like, love this movie. I'm a huge Vincent Price fan. I feel like, again, like if you're into horror, you like gotta. But even more than House on Haunted Hill, I really enjoyed The Horror of Dracula. Now, this is the first ever Hammer horror Dracula movie with Christopher Lee as Dracula. This came out in 1958, all right? Now, honestly, I think this is the best Hammer ever did. with Dracula, at least as far as I've seen. I know there's a whole bunch of them and I haven't seen all of them, but like I think in this movie you get one of the best uses of Christopher Lee as Dracula. Again, he's like a tall, lanky dude with like these like monstrous proportions. Like just how tall he is and how imposing he is, and like the magnetic physicality that he has, like you really get to see this displayed in this movie, and it's wonderful, especially with the fight scene between Peter Cushing as Van Helsing and Christopher Lee as Dracula. You get to see Christopher Lee choke the shit out of Peter Cushing, and like I've never wanted to be Peter Cushing so bad. Anyway, again, if you're not really into Hammer, if like you think it's all bad or it's all stupid or it's all just a bunch of titties, which like, I don't know, I love to see a bunch of titties. That's not really a problem for me. But if you're like on that, I saw Goody Proctor in the woods with the devil shit, you're probably not even still watching this, like, right? But, yeah, I think this is one of the best Christopher Lee as Dracula's, like, just his physicality, seeing him move and, like, getting in close on his facial expressions. Also, I haven't seen a lot of people talk about this, but, like, they left Christopher Lee's unibrow on. I don't know if they drew that on him on purpose or they just left his natural unibrow go. Like if they just left him like to be full bush Dracula, but like that unibrow, like it does something to me. Yeah. Anyway, even more than the horror of Dracula, I enjoyed the film Dracula's Daughter. So this is one of the coolest early black and white vampire films. This is the film that inspired Anne Rice to create the Vampire Chronicles partially, because it's one of the earliest representations of like kind of like a sympathetic vampire who like doesn't want to be what they are and is tortured by their existence. Very cool, very angsty, beautiful outfits, beautiful style, very dramatic in that old Hollywood way, and very gay also, which extra points for that. But I love the depiction of a female vampire as like tall, glamorous, tragic, magnetic, but at the end of the day, like a monster to her core. This is one of my favorite, she's perhaps my favorite film vampire of all time. Like when I look at her, I can kind of see where like Delphine Seyrig was going with like Countess Bathory in Daughters of Darkness. I can kind of see like where Catherine Deneuve was going with Miriam Blaylock in, oh my, that's my The Hunger. Look, I have the tattoo from The Hunger, bro. Like, oh my god. I've been talking too long. Anyway, more than Dracula's Daughter, I enjoyed Sinners. Everybody's talking about how good Sinners is, and everybody is correct. Again, the musical interlude of like all eras and like various cultures of music all intertwining in the juke joint is literally a spiritual experience to watch. I've never seen anything like that in my life, and I don't think I ever will again. Like Ryan Coogler fucking killed it. Like spectacular. Also, again, I've talked a little bit about like the history of the vampire. When kind of Bram Stoker kind of codified like what would become like the hallmarks of like early vampires, a lot of it was based on the English societal fear of like Eastern Europeans and Jews. My people. And I really like it when we kind of take that idea and turn it on its head. So that's why for me, making like Frank Langella, a like suave Englishman Dracula, kind of betrays the source material to me, but making like Black and Irish vampires like in early America 100% suits like the initial narrative. Like, cause there was actually a long period of time where like it's very interesting, like Irish people were kind of not, and Eastern Europeans, even though if you look at us, like I'm like on that blobfish translucency shit. There's a long period of time where like my ancestors were like not considered white people. So like making the vampires black and making the vampires Irish, fucking intelligent. Also, I love blues lore. I love old blues music. I love like Screamin' Jay Hawkins, Robert Johnson. So like from the point of view of like this movie just kind of being like the genesis of a blues man and his like encounter with supernatural evil, which all good blues musicians must have, absolute fire. This was like a love letter to like horror. It was a love letter to the vampire genre. It was a love letter to blues. Like there is a lot of fucking love in that movie and like in that theater. Like I was just sitting there watching that movie the whole time with like hard eyes. Like touched me deep. There's so much that could be said about like that movie and how it plays with like social norms and mores, or like how it's even called Sinners, and like every person in that movie is like morally gray at least, but all of them are like treated with like dignity and respect and like as whole people. It's very rare to see a movie where like every like significant member of the cast feels significant and fully fleshed and is given that respect. And like I said, there's just so much fucking love in Sinners and so much horror. Like I jumped a few times. Like it functions as a horror movie, it functions as a historical period piece, but it also has this like old school blockbuster feel. Like if you're a fan of movies like Van Helsing or like The Mummy, all those Stephen Sommers, if you're a fan of Zorro, like, do you see what I mean? It like has that like long drawn out epic scope of like Hollywood blockbusters, but it also has all this like really beautiful, sensitive, like incredible things interworked into it. And like, I loved it. All right, we're coming up on my last two. Now, I recently just watched Crimson Peak for the first time, and this is a movie that I could literally write a million essays on. Now, as somebody who loves Guillermo del Toro, I don't know how I never saw Crimson Peak. I think like, because this is a 10-year-old movie, I think when it came out, I was like, Crimson Peak, that sounds like period sex. I'm not really into it. And then I never watched it. Crimson Peak, that's what it does sound like, but honestly, I'd say this is the least Guillermo del Toro film in terms of like monster effects and shit like that, but it is one of the most effective and incredible like homages to like high Gothic like literature and film that I have ever seen in my entire life. The atmosphere is incredible. The house that they live in, Allerdale Hall, is like so cool. Like if you love abandoned buildings, like I feel like this is just like an incredible movie. Like there's so many things that I really loved about it. For one, the fact that the house itself is literally built on red clay, so like it looks like it's bleeding everywhere, and it's literally bleeding everywhere. There's just so much cool foreshadowing built into this movie. If you don't know about Crimson Peak, essentially like an American chick ends up running into like a mysterious aristocrat with a dark secret and like moving into his like haunted house. And she's a writer also, which like as a writer, I love. One, I feel like the Gothic and like artists and the tragic heroine and the tragic, it just, it's so fucking perfect. There's so much good like foreshadowing, like booking every section of it. Now, this movie is incredibly predictable, but like the atmosphere is incredible. Like I think in many movies, like, it seems like none of the characters really have any chemistry. Like, it's like, oh, here's your straight couple put together. Like, I believe that Tom Hiddleston and her love each other. Yo, Tom Hiddleston is so good in this movie. Like, he seems like... I wish he would play a... Oh, wait, he did play a vampire in Only Lovers Left Alive, the Jim Jarmusch movie. I haven't seen that yet, but I got to, in this movie, like, he's just so vampiric. Like, there's something so alluring, yet, like, slightly off and uncanny valley about his performance. It's, like, delicious. This is a delicious movie. This movie is, like, soaking. If you a freak, this movie is, like, sinking into a warm bath. I love the design of the ghosts. Of course I do. It's Del Toro. Like, they're so, like, beautiful and angular and creepy. Like, they do actually really give, like, they remind me of, like, depictions of, like, La Llorona and, like, Calaveras and, like, stuff. Like, you see the vibes. It's so cool. Also something I really, really appreciate, again, like, the movie starts off and the first time she hears about the baronet, she's like, oh, all baronets are parasites. And then she literally experiences, like, what, to the deep level of a parasite he can be. This has many Gothic tropes, which I deeply love, like beautiful, lush costumes, ghosts, doomed love triangles being about artists and, like, creatives, incest. Fabulous. If you're, again, some people be like, ugh, like, that's just Monterey, baby. Like, we're all fucking in sweet home Alabama. I could literally, I love, like, the representations of, like, of, like, the old world haunting the new world and, like, faded wealth and, like, the, like, contrasts of, like, those who work for their money are portrayed as good versus, like, the old nobility being portrayed as, like, parasitic and evil. It's, like, a very Marxist, Victorian, high Gothic film. Delicious. All right, then we're going lastly. This is number 13, and this is the horror film that I have enjoyed the most that I've seen, and it's gotta be The Hunger. This is a rewatch for me, a movie that I have seen at least 5 or 6 times. Again, I literally have the tattoo of the Ankh knife the vampires used to kill people and drink their blood in this movie. One of my favorite movies of all time. Now, I do hear a lot of complaints about The Hunger, and I'm here to tell you that you're fucking wrong. You're wrong. I don't care, all right? People are like... Now, I remember actually the first time I watched it, I was like, this all seems very random and, like, it doesn't really make any sense. But, like, I've watched it a couple times and now I feel like it actually has, like, a really solid plot, which nobody talks about. People will be like, oh, the atmosphere, the artistry, the vibes, the, like, raw sexuality contained within this film is, like, stunning. I think it actually does have, like, a lot to say about, like, grief. And, like, for me, the true essence of the Gothic is, like, a misplaced memory, like things lingering which should not linger. And that's, like, where the real horror of, like, the Gothic monster comes from. This movie is, like, the ultimate modern Gothic bisexual vampire film. Again, you got David Bowie, all right? You have Susan Sarandon, you have Catherine Deneuve. So we're talking, like, art film French royalty, David fucking Bowie, Susan Sarandon in, like, a weird love triangle. Very cool. There's just so much in this movie. Like, and again, I think, like, especially in modern films, like, one issue I have is, like, spoon feediness, where, like, it feels like the filmmakers literally don't respect you and think you're a moron and they need to tell you literally every ounce, like, over details. Like, that was something I really, really felt in Dracula, A Love Story. Like, I feel like when there's so much like, we don't need exposition. What we need is to sink into a world. Like, the whole point of film is, like, fucking show me shit. Like, screenwriting 101, all right? Like, show me stuff. Don't tell me stuff. I think if you watch The Hunger a few times, you really get into, like, what they're showing you. And I like being shown stuff and not told it. There's, like, this really interesting, like, cycle of, like, love and loss and grief that is expressed through the journeys that all the characters have for each other. And again, like, keep in your mind, like, the true essence of Gothic horror and Gothic romance is things lingering which should not linger. And then watch The Hunger and tell me that it is, like, not the perfect Gothic vampire horror film. I have it tattooed. I don't know where my heart is. Maybe my heart's up here, not sure. But it's between my titties, which is, like, the most romantic place something could be. And I love, yeah, just, like, I love being covered in, like, swords and fruit and, like, fangs, like, anyway. So, like, you think do you think, maybe looking at me, I would get the tattoo of, like, a bad movie between my titties. But, also this movie is, one, it opens with Catherine Deneuve and David Bowie in a goth club as vampires hunting while Bela Lugosi's Dead plays. If you're goth, bitch, what more do you need to be happy in your life? If you need anything more than that, you require too much and you need to, like, chill. That's all I'm saying. But, The Hunger is just, like, the perfect movie. Also, it's one thing, like, I feel like while people don't really respect what it's saying, people do respect, like, the aesthetic and the visuals of it and, like, the flowing curtains and, like, despite being, like, what would be an 80s period piece now, like, it does have, like, this vast, luxurious Gothic feel, which I really like to see, honestly. I love the 80s, bro. Like, I mean, not a lot of the things that happen, but, like, the vibes as we, like, falsely remember them. I love fake nostalgia. Look, we all gotta do what we gotta vaporwave MP3 to do to get through, homie. So, anyway, so those are the 13 horror movies that I've seen lately, ranked from, like, my least favorite to my favorite. Let me know what you think. Have you seen any of these movies? Have I told you about something that, like, you haven't seen, but it sounds fucking good to you? Let me know. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Bye.